I want to use you sort of as a guinea pig here to try some of these techniques out. Okay, so we're going to work on the jab. Before we do, I want to talk about punching, since all we're working on today is the jab. And I want to keep the video short, but I want to give you a lot of information and things that you can work on. Maybe you'll use an hour working on some of the things that I'm going to show you in a few short minutes. Okay, so you got to have a weapon. So when you're punching anything, you got to have a good fist. So the proper way to make a fist, in my mind, is you roll the fingers down, which might take a little bit of flexibility training and things like that. That's 1, 2. Notice no air in there, and then the thumb just comes in the front and covers. And by the way, you don't hold a fist like this. Your hands are loose, 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 and on an impact, they naturally go into the striking mode. It's a weapon. So, and when you're loose and you have your fist tight, like I showed you, 1, 2, 3, and you relax your hand but keep your fist in there, as you can feel, it's like a rock on the end of the rope for all these strikes that you're going to do. Okay. All right. So that in mind, let's get started. So the jab is one of my favorite punches because I really like the versatility of it because it does so many things. All right. So the first thing I want to work on is the positioning and the end of it. So when you're striking and at the end, you've got your guard up, of course, and when you come out with your punch and you strike out, boom, positioning. I got my shoulder up, chin down, because that protects that. Because this is where we get knocked out. From here, right here is really where you get knocked. This way, this way, this way. The head moves and the brain stays still. That usually means lights out. So you got your fist in here. So it's going to come right up your shoulder. And when we strike out here, pow, I really want this wrist perfectly flat. Let me get this black background here. And we're striking with the first 2 knuckles. So you point them. So if you look against my shorts here, the contrast, how the lead is the first 2 knuckles. Those are our striking tools. And the reason is it comes right down the center line, especially when you strike. That's your power. Striking out here is sort of this way, not good. But here is where all your power comes, right from your solar plexus, right down through those knuckles. Elbow actually is slightly bent. But that's pretty fine detail there. Let's build it from the base up though. So as I step back here so you can see my feet, basic fighting stance is going to have both feet in a 45-degree direction. The toe, the front foot, is going to be lined up right with the heel. And then you're going to move out about 1.5 shoulder width. And it's a 50-50 stance. So I bounce. That way I check and make sure I got my weight evenly distributed. The reason 50-50, I can go forward or back. Now boxers, they'll take that back heel and just slightly pick it up to get so they can retreat quickly, I believe. Taekwondo, we want to kick with that front leg, so that's a little bit different. Which, by the way, I wanted to mention too, the jab, the thing I like about it is your second line of defense. And I say second because my first line of defense is my legs, because they're longer, they're stronger, a lot more reach there. So then I can step down now, so I go from the kicking range into the punching range, into the grappling range, okay? Back, okay? So those are our different ranges there. All right, so I want to talk real quick about the kinetic link. I love tennis, and I know you do. Okay, buddy, like I was saying, we have a solid base for your stance. So we got the stance down, toe the front foot in line with the heel of the back, 45-degree angle, 50-50 stance. So we're all good there. So we're going to take our jab here, and we're going to push it right off our shoulder, straight out. We talked about the kinetic link coming up through the floor, through your hips, out through your shoulder, through your elbow, through your knuckles, at the very last through the knuckles. Okay, side view. Take my butt, shift it into it too a little bit. All your weight right out in there. Let's call it shotgun jab. There's many different jabs, but this is the one we want. We want to use this. We're going to work on it. Later on, you can add some of the different types of jabs that you use in combat for sparring. I don't think we're going to be sparring. You're 61. I'm 61. Janny would kill me if I get in there in the ring and spar. But still, it's nice to know how to fight, things like that. Okay. I want to mention, too, when we strike, a lot of times there's a tendency, and I want you to work on this from the very beginning. There's a tendency to straighten up. We don't want to do that. We want to sit. Chris Bauer's play, sit down in your punches. Your punches just sort of sit down. So you got your hips here. So as I move forward and strike, my hips want to have the same level. When we do Taekwondo, we're doing these movements that you do at each belt level. We practice them all the time. You're moving in a certain pattern around the floor, around the room. We work very hard on keeping the head level the same. because if you're going up and down, you're losing power. So you try and keep, plus it's prettier, and that's what form is about. And a nice, clean technique, very clean technique. So in boxing too, if you can keep your hips and head same level, attacking and retreating, unless you're defensively maneuvering with the head ducking and things like that. But when you punch, you don't want to be straightened up because you start losing power. You start straightening your knees. So you're keeping this soft. So it's almost like you just want to sit down. You always say sit down on the punches. That's all it is. So I wanted to mention that. And then we talked about the kinetic link. Oh, you ever get snapped all the time? I know you were a lifeguard at Monty's. They would we get these towels and twist them all up and then just crack somebody. Oh man, leave a big welt on Larry's ass. Okay, so that towel is loose and flimsy. It's a rag. It's not dangerous at all, or there's nothing to it. And then all of a sudden out there, twang, right at the end for just a moment, smack. All that power gets generated through that towel. Whichever you throw it in there with your hip, it's like throwing a frisbee. And you get that towel going out there, and then you're changing directions at the last second. And that change of directions causes it to rigid, like a lightning bolt for just a moment, okay? So we want our punches to have that same type of power. Because when I'm throwing that punch, as I'm coming out here, it should be loose. It looks like I'm tight, but I'm really going to be loose, 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 tight, loose again. Real quick. But right out there, right at the very last second, pow, you just a little bit of impact. And that's when your hand squeezes too, because you're going to come out of real soft hands, come out nice and soft, and then crack, and then whichever punch it is, you want to get that nice, so be the towel. It's going to be just like that towel. Whack, okay? So, positioning is pretty important. So even though I said from the beginning, there's some things I want you to work on so you don't develop bad habits. It's easier to make a new habit correct than break an old habit to make a new habit. So the right hand is always up by the jaw. I like to touch. I don't like to get hit. I've been hit. It doesn't hurt, but it impedes your success, that's for sure. So you got your hand up here for protection. It's open, and the glove, inside the glove, a lot of times it's open. Because if you're countering with the right, then it's going to close on impact. So I got my hand up here. This is in here. It's like a shield. So I kind of keep this. I know Taekwondo, we got our hands out a lot because we're fighting kicks too, so it's a little bit different. But in boxing, I want to collapse everything in and make them like shields. Because now this thing is like a body shield. And I really want this shield here because that's where my liver is, behind there. And I give it enough damage. I don't need any help there from you. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to keep these hands in here. So when I'm throwing my jab, I don't want to drop my right hand. I want to keep it up here. So a lot of times, as I keep your hands up, I like to even just increase it a little bit, especially because then I'm going to be working on a hook later. Hook coming across like this. So they're coming that hook. I want to actually tighten this up a little more because the counter to a hook, ironically, is a hook from them. So that's something too. Somebody's pretty savvy. They see you wind up, they see a hook coming, then their reaction is to hook back. And if you're dropping your hands, you're eating theirs. Okay, so if you hook, so I throw a little bit more emphasis on my guard. That's something that I think I'd like you to practice. Again, you're never going to need it, but it's nice to know. Remember the Peloton story? At least you have some residual, some skills. Okay. So let's work on a couple here. So what I want to do is you'll be practicing pushing from the floor up through your body, slow motion. Get out, relax. These knuckles, right? I'm always striking with these. Even through the gloves, I want to feel them coming in there. Okay. So the next thing I want to show you, we'll be practicing this, and I want you to come back, and then you're going to work on the double jab, stepping and stepping. So first of all, when I jab, every time I jab, I like stepping so my hand and foot go on the same time. That way I'm taking my body weight, moving it forward, put it right in behind that, okay? So I think that's everything's going to match that way. So that's something you want to practice. So when I'm doing a double jab, I'm going to step. I got my next step. I'm going to extend it out there. And my goal is to get this between their gloves. That's my goal. I can't hit it from here. I'm kind of far away. So I just want to get this between the gloves. I'm taking my step. Keep my hips low. Then from here, I'm going to bring my body into my fist. Back foot steps, slides in a little bit, and I push off again, and I push from there with my shoulder pushing into my hips, and then come up the kinetic link again. Come up. So it looks like this. Okay. So that's a double. So we can do a triple jab too. But the triple jab, this time I want you to move on it. So I'm going to take my feet, do my step, boom. I'm going to bring my weight back down to the right leg. I'm going to step again to the outside. Boom, boom. I'm hitting. I'm going to move in my back leg to follow. Instead of falling straight forward, I'm following in an arc to my left. One more. And the thing about this, I started attacking this way, putting some form to look at, and now I'm attacking this way. So the receiver has a punch coming in his face, and quickly another punch from here, and quickly another punch from here. So they have to move to me. So if they're doing that, they're not attacking me. So that's one of my things. So I want to set that up. Coming into the body, and another hook to the head, and move out this way. So there's all kinds of things we can do from there. Like, again, probably never going to need it, but might as well practice it. Now we have a skill and a little bit of deception here. Okay.